Assalamu alaikum and welcome to another episode of Quranists Responses to Critics on Quranists Network Television, QNet TV. Today we will be doing our second part of the refutation to Nouman Ali Khan's video. Part 1 was essentially a preview of the arguments to come, so I advise you to watch that video first so you can get up to speed with what we're going to do today. Today we will start with the verse in question, which Nouman Ali Khan says, Quranists are those who cut apart what Allah commands to be combined. So in doing so, in cutting apart, Quranists have thereby become hypocrites. And obviously, for anyone who understands Islamic literature, hypocrites are assigned to the lowest levels of hell. So Nouman has essentially performed takfir on the Quranist community. Well, let's see if his arguments are indeed veracious. So basically, the verse he quotes can only be two verses, one or two verses. That's chapter 2, verse 27, and chapter 13, verse 25. The video he gives, unfortunately, does not tell us which one it is. Let's assume it's chapter 2, verse 27. Even though our argument can equally be applied to chapter 13 verse 25 itself as well. Nouman says, chapter 2 verse 27 says that they cut apart what Allah commands to be combined. The full verse goes, الَّذِينَ يَنْقَضُونَ عَهْدَ اللَّهِ, those who break the covenant of Allah, مِنْ بَعْدِ مِثَاقِهِ, after contracting it, وَيَقْطَعُونَ مَا أَمْرَ اللَّهُ بِهِ أَنْ يُوصَلَ, and they cut what Allah ordered to be joined. وَيُفْسِدُونَ فِي الْأَرْضِ, and create mischief on the earth. أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْخَاسِرُونَ, these people are the losers. Well, the first problem in Nouman's interpretation is that he said it is combined, what Allah commands to be combined. If you look at Sunni translations, I'm not talking about Quranist translations, but Sunni translations itself, if you go to a website which lists down all the translations, all 30 of them, 30 odd I would say, you will find that none of them say combined. They say joined, because the word yusala comes from the word salla, which means to connect, to link, to join. I don't know how Nouman got combined. Maybe he did it in a slipshod way so that we would think that it's actually Quran and Sunnah. I don't know. But whatever it is, it means to be joined. So Nouman is saying that Quranists have cut apart what Allah commands to be joined. So the first point to note is, does this ayah mention the Quran, the word Quran, the kalima al-Quran anywhere? No, it's not there at all. In fact, the first time the word Quran is mentioned is about 160 verses later in chapter 2 verse 185, which says شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن. Traditionally, the month of Ramadan is when descended Quran. Okay, so the word Quran is not there. What about the words hadith and sunnah? Well, the word sunnah, which means way, and the word hadith, which means either news or event or exposition or what have you, they are never applied to the messenger. So you will never find sunnatul nabi or hadith al-rasul. You will never find it in the Quran. It is traditionalist literature which connected these two words to the messenger. So you will find sunnatul awwaleen, the way of the ancients, sunnatullah, the way of Allah, lahw al-hadith, diversionary hadith or useless hadith, ahsan al-hadith, the best hadith, hadha al-hadith, this hadith, but you will never find sunnatul rasul and hadith al-nabi. You'll never find them. So where did Nouman get this from? Where did Nouman get this from? He just conjured it up. That's what he did. He simply made it up. Okay, well, this refers to those people. That's rather unacademic. That's quite unlike Nouman, but That's the maneuver he pulled with this particular argument. Then he mentioned this chap Shawkani, who said that this discussion is about hypocrites, munafiqeen. And Nouman said, you can see it in his video, Nouman said, because Allah is including the discussion of the hypocrites here. Allah is including. How does Allah include? Well, obviously, the ayah must say so for Allah to include. Otherwise, you're just imagining it. So, Allah is including the discussion of the hypocrites here in this verse, chapter 2, verse 27, or chapter 13, verse 25. Is this correct? Just to note, I looked for the word munafiqeen, and munafiqeen does not appear in either chapter 2 or chapter 13. So, the two chapters in which Nouman claimed these verses refer to Quranists, the word munafiqeen is not there, even though Nouman says Allah includes. I don't know how he imagined that Allah included munafiqeen there, when Allah never even said the word munafiqeen. So clearly, if Nouman wanted to say, okay, well, you know what, this is Shawkani's opinion, Shawkani says, okay, well, actually this refers to them, then okay, I can appreciate that. But no, he says Allah includes. So, for those people who are listening to him, they will be like, oh, okay, well, Allah includes, that means it must be in the ayah. And they wouldn't check it. So, Nouman, that was not very academic of you. I don't know why you did it. If it was carelessness, it's inexcusable, because you're condemning people to hell. And if it was intentional, it is very, very nefarious, Nouman. I would suggest you retract this horrible accusation. Right, moving on. So, we need to know now, who are these people? Who are these people which verse chapter 2, verse 27 mentions? Well, if Nouman cared to actually quote the full verse, now this would be a good start. He did not even quote the full verse. The full verse goes, الَّذِينَ يَنْقَضُونَ عَهْدَ اللَّهِ, those who sever the covenant of Allah. Now, if the audience heard Rasulullah reciting those who, surely they would wonder, oh, wait a minute, who is this? Who are these people? Those who. You don't start a sentence with those who, or an idea with those who. What you do is, you have to read it from the beginning. In this case, I suggest you read from chapter 2, verse 26, the previous ayah, which says, Allah is not ashamed to set forth any example, a gnat or anything above that. Then as for those who believe, they know that it is truth from their Lord. And for those who disbelieve, they say, what is it that Allah means by this parable? He causes many to be astray by it, and many He leads aright by it. He does not lead astray except those people who are fasiqun, those people who refuse to strive in the way of Allah. They will be misguided by these parables. And then it continues, those who break the covenant of Allah. So is it talking about Quranists here? No, it's talking about those who reject that Allah sends forth parables. Do Quranists reject that? Absolutely not. If you go to any Quranist website or Quranist group on Facebook or Twitter, what have you, you will find Quranists continuously discussing these things. It is some traditionalists, and no, I'm saying some traditionalists who say, oh no, we can't think about all these things. We need to take them literally. So they say Allah has two hands. Stuff like that. Because they can't think of metaphors. Even though Allah is saying you need to contemplate the Quran. أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ, chapter 47, verse 24. Or on their hearts are their locks. See, Allah is asking you to contemplate, but you don't. And then you accuse Quranists as people who reject these parables. So Nouman, I suggest you take a look at that. You have made a heinous accusation, and basically it's inexcusable. It really is inexcusable. So now we look at Nouman's own methodology. You see, Nouman says that the Quranists cut up what Allah commands to be combined. Now I'm saying, why don't we look at Nouman's methodology and see what he does? If Allah commanded something to be joined, it is the Quran. You know why? The Quran is structured in such a way. Even though traditionalists mostly ignore the structure in tafsir, they never ignore it in terms of preservation. The hifz, where the tradition they memorize and recite the Quran, is always perfectly structured. So Allah has commanded the Quran to be a kitab, i.e. to be joined as a kitab. But has Nouman actually paid attention to this? No, he has not. Let me show you. In one of his videos, which you will find the link here, we've taken you straight to that particular time. Nouman says that Allah says, "You did not write anything down with your hand. وَلَا تَخُطُّهُ بِيَمِينِكَ." You did not write anything with your hand. Actually, the word there is your right hand, but Nouman said hand, so that someone won't say, "Oh, what about your left hand?" So Nouman, I don't know how you got hand there. Hand would be biyadik, but it's biyaminik, with your right hand. And Nouman added in, "You did not know how to write." So he is implying the Prophet was illiterate. Did he quote the verse in full? No. Did he give a reference for the verse? No. It's just that somehow when he recited it, I saw the video, I remember the verse. So I looked at it, and it turns out the verse did not have "you did not know how to write." It only says you didn't write anything with your right hand. So Nouman, how did you add this without saying, "Oh, by the way, my interpretation is this"? No. You just simply said, "This is what Allah says, okay, we accept." No, it's not what Allah says, it's what you said, Nouman. It's what you said, not what Allah says. So how does the full verse go? It goes, وَمَا كُنْتَ تَتْلُو مِنْ قَبْلِهِ مِنْ كِتَابٍ. And you did not recite a book before it, before the Quran. Look at the context. وَلَا تَخُطُّهُ بِيَمِينِكَ. And you did not write with your right hand. إِذَا لَرْتَابَ الْمُبْتِلُونَ. In that case, the talkers of vanities would have doubted. So see, it says, min qabli, before it, before the Quran. Now, if the Prophet was illiterate all his life, would Allah have to say before the Quran? Obviously not. Obviously not. So this is something which Nouman conjured up in order to prove his point. What a way to cut apart what Allah commanded to be joined. So Nouman, as you know, chapter 61 verses 2 to 3 asks you, "O ye who believe, why do you say that which you do not do?" It is something which is odious in the sight of Allah. So Nouman, you accuse Quranists of doing this, and you yourself actually do it, in fact, in a horrible way, in order to push your point onto the Quranic text. So with this, we end part 2 of Quranist responses to critics Nouman Ali Khan. And in part 3, we will be dealing with Nouman's understanding of the hadith, where the Prophet gives a command and someone says, "Well, is it in the Quran?" So inshallah, we will be talking about that and hopefully giving our response to that as well. Thank you very much for viewing this. And if you can, please forward this to Bayyinah Institute. We need to make Nouman and his students aware of the deception which is going on. Thank you very much. Bye.